Welcome back, listeners of the Tron podcast. This is your host, Rashad Woods. Today, I have a very special guest today, a catalyst coach, a former financial advisor who now teaches people how to not only find the better version of themselves financially, but also on a personal level as well, too, that you don't just link your personal value to your money or your net worth. Leisa Peterson, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm pumped, because, when you start seeing people who are in Forbes and Wall Street Journal and have credentials and like yourself, they don't just talk to people like me. I'm really just a guy with headphones on trying to make a little niche here. I love your story, your background, what you've accomplished, and how you help people. So please, it's all about you.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for making my day. And I'm excited for this conversation.
Pumped. Really excited about it. So, obviously, I listened to some of your interviews. You said you didn't come from wealth. So tell us about your background, please.
Yeah, it definitely surprises people because I have come a long way, I'll say. My parents got married probably right out of high school. My dad had actually already been in jail just to set the stage before they were married. Oh, wow. I didn't know those things when I was growing up, but eventually I was born in the late 60s and grew up in the Bay Area, born in Oakland, California. And when I was growing up, my dad got involved in drugs and started dealing drugs on the side. And I just had a very unconventional childhood where that wasn't the norm. I didn't know anyone else who was having these experiences. And yet it's funny because it did teach me about capitalism very early in life. I'm not sure if it was the best way to learn about it.
Right. Well,
they figured it out.
Ultimately. Yeah. There's another topic on that. I'm sure there's let's just say that obviously it's tough to kind of put the words into that, but you did learn about money handling and transactions and cash flow, from an experience like that.
Yes, totally. I could give you some stories.
Oh my goodness.
But I figured out, even though my parents, they were very full of love and they loved my brother and I deeply, they weren't really good with money. Right. And so they got in trouble. They got in a lot of debt. Money was one of those things that they fought about. It was always a topic of discussion, not in a good way. They didn't know how to save money. They just were good at spending it. And so what happened was early in life, I decided that, okay, my parents don't have this figured out. So if I can figure out how to have money, then everything will be fine in life. It's like rainbows and unicorns, and I just need to figure out how to have money. And that worked for a while, but unfortunately, tragedy started hitting. In 1999, my dad was actually murdered.
Oh my goodness.
I hate I feel like a bummer when I say these things, but it happened and it changed my life because it woke me up to the fact that the stories in my mind about money and about life were actually really messed up. And I didn't have any tools. I didn't have faith. I didn't have friends that could understand and help me through something like this. Like I wasn't the person that I wanted to be. And it began a journey for me that continues to this day. I went to a more spiritual path. I started meditating. I started mindfulness practices, all the while still working in finance, helping people with their money, helping them understand. But eventually I started to realize that all that I was doing on an inner journey actually had a lot to do with this outer journey of money. And I started realizing that I wanted to teach about that.
Correct.
So I have 2 beautiful children, been married to my college sweetheart for what feels to be forever. And we live a really blessed life, but I wanted to set the stage for like where I've come from.
For sure.
Because it helps people maybe.
Yeah. And I did know about, situations that happen in your life, and I'm not going to be the person to bring that up. I heard it on a previous podcast, and, that's an area that's very sensitive, and I wasn't going to, go there on what that happened. So I appreciate you being, forthcoming with what took place in your life. I thought what was very interesting about your background was, on paper, you're like, I spent 10 years in financial services. I'm driven, my career's going well, closing deals, you're in mortgage lending, you're in all the various institutions in finance. And then all of a sudden you walked away from it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like on paper, like, how does that even come forthcoming to you that after that, I'm going to walk away from this? and end up being more successful on the other side of it, because that's what holds people back a lot of it, because I'm only trained to do one particular thing, or this is all I know. This is what my degree and the plaques on the wall say that who I am.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, and you just said it, so I want to build off of this. You said, and being essentially like more successful. And I want to question that for a second, because I would probably have a lot more money and even status if I had stayed in the corporate world.
Right.
Like it was all there for me.
Right.
And what I've done the past 11 years when I walked away from all of that and started my company has very little to do with money and very little to even do with status. Like, yes, it's cool to be mentioned in these publications and to have cool friends, but like all of that pales in comparison to who I have become.
Correct.
As a result
Correct.
of walking away.
Right.
And learning about myself and building confidence in a person that I didn't even know existed. Yes. Before I
Beautiful.
left. That to me is the biggest wealth. Right. I could have.
And I think that's amazing because, people's status oftentimes is tied to their LinkedIn profile, so to speak, right? For lack of a better term. So, the economy ebbs and flows and dips, and we've seen what happens when people have that taken away, because it's very easy to get it removed from you. And so when you realize that was a portion of your life, and it kind of also, not only say kind of, it does directly correlate with how you manage your company now, right? So now let's talk about your company specifically, because you don't just take like the balance sheet accounting approach to it, right? You take what I saw from previous interviews and from your website are stages. There's 8 phases, right? So about how you actually get people to be mindful, also have meditation and the proper mindset. And then you do retreats as well, too. So I'd love to hear about that. I know that's a lot I just kind of mouthed off. So sorry.
No, it's good. Yeah. I mean, first, let's say the most important thing about what I'm about to share is my husband and I have done very well financially, to the point where we have enough money to take care of us for the rest of our lives, which gives me incredible privilege and freedom to be able to focus on only doing things that I love to do.
Right.
And one of the things I love to do is to mentor and support and help other people.
Beautiful.
When it's a good fit.
Right.
And it doesn't matter about the money. Like I work with clients that pay me very, very little, because to them, it's a lot. And that is just as important as somebody paying me a lot, because they have the means to be able to do that.
Or talking to a nobody podcaster.
Oh my gosh, you stop that, because you rock. And I talked to so many people, and immediately when we got on the call, you made me feel so good. I was like, okay, I'm going to remember this conversation, because I don't, like we all have our ups and downs, right? And I like to be there for people, right, whether they're in their ups or their downs. Right. And what I do in my business is a lot of it has to do with the journey I've taken, which is, where is someone lacking in their knowledge, in their understanding of finance and business, or where is someone lacking in their understanding of themselves?
For sure.
And the confidence that they have about who they are.
For sure.
And I'm looking at both parts of a human, and I'm saying these go together. How can they help each other? How can our knowledge help our confidence? How can our confidence help our knowledge?
Right.
And I'm working with people in that capacity. And it looks different for every single person I work with, because everyone's different.
I do want to ask real quick, only because people have a tendency to, I talked to the CEO of HOA.com, and he gave me a great quote. He said, there's life by design and there's life by default, right? And so when you have it by default, you wake up, kind of go through the motions because you've already known what you're going to do for the day. But when you design it and you come with a plan, I've noticed all the people that I've talked to on the show, such as individuals like yourself, have a discernible action plan about what they're going to do for the day, month, week, etc. And then that's when successful things happen to people. That's when good things start to take place, when you block off that time and when you start saying, these are the things that I want to accomplish in whatever time frame is applicable to you. So how did you get people to approach that mindset, to understand that you have to value not just the money, but your time to do the things that you want to do?
So first, let's be really honest. Like, some people don't want to work that hard at it. Like,
right.
And it's not, maybe it's a personality thing, maybe it's an energy thing. Like, not everyone is cut out for this path
Right.
of saying, I'm going to be incredibly intentional and deliberate about everything I do.
Right. Right.
And that's why not everyone can reap the rewards, because you got to put that time in, you got to be committed. And there's going to be different phases of our lives. Let's talk about someone starting out or someone who wants more money. And they're like, okay, how do I get this engine going? And this is consistent over and over again. I see this. In that beginning phase, you are going to be working a lot. You are going to be you're going to wake up in the morning. You're going to get up at 4 a.m. You're going to do your meditation. You're going to set a plan for like, what does my day look like? Where am I going to show up? Where is my time best allocated for bringing in the money, for bringing in the opportunity? Everything you do has to be oriented in that way when you're getting the engine going.
Right.
And you can't fake that, and you can't skip that.
No. And, I mean, just starting out, and again, I don't want to ever compare what you've done to this show, but it was like, I do this on my own, and there's nobody that's suddenly going to tap you on the shoulder and suddenly say, hey, let's do this again. Let's make sure that no, this is work. It is difficult to anybody who wants to start a podcast. Like, and I just started, just recently. You have to do your homework. You have to be engaging. It is not just flipping open a laptop, putting a pair of headphones on and BSing it. It's not. It is very difficult to get people who are very successful to give you time, and you better reciprocate it back by doing your homework when you're sleepy, by editing videos, by getting the right clips, having a good narrative. It's almost like making a movie, like, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, in a way, like you have to, and it's me. This is all me. And so to your point, you have two options: do or don't. There's no gray area.
Well, totally. And you and I and everyone listening, like, we aren't different when it comes to how much time we have, how much energy it's going to take. Like, momentum is momentum, and getting out of inertia is hard. It's hard. Even coming back from vacation, that first couple of days, you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. It's like, just let me go back. Like, it's not easy.
No.
But everyone has to go through that. And the reason I wanted to say that is that as our business evolves, the goal is to not have to work at that same level of intensity forever.
Correct.
To set up systems so that we are able to ride the coattails of like all that we've done.
Right.
I took an initiative in my mind when I first started my company that I was like, there is a sea of average out there. There is a sea of ideas out there. There's so much going on. My biggest goal is to figure out how I can differentiate what it is I'm talking about, what it is I'm doing. And that is not easy stuff. I call it becoming especially noticeable.
Yes.
We have to figure out a unique approach to who we are and what we're doing. And that takes time and energy and testing and seeing if people are responsive to it. Because we can come up with some great ideas to us, but if other people don't find them interesting,
unquestionably,
it's not something to pursue.
It's called a hobby, right? That's what it's you know what I mean? So about your book, The Money Catalyst, like there's a character named Maribel, 34-year-old, I don't even call her middle-aged woman, just a 34-year-old woman. What exactly is, and I noticed it was her journey along the way with her family, her husband, and she has some clarity that takes place in life. And it's gotten some rave reviews, and I will mention your book or where to find it, towards the end of the show. Give us some information about the book, please.
You're so kind to ask.
Yeah.
So this is a labor of love to all the people out there who want to have a better relationship with money, like the whole idea of it. And so my first book was nonfiction, The Mindful Millionaire. I wanted to twist it up and bring a more story, parable oriented book into the world that would touch people's hearts. So we're following this woman, Maribel, on her journey of realizing and waking up, just like I did, just like many of my clients have, that there are scarcity patterns that she's living with that aren't working for anymore. And what do I mean by that? She goes to Europe and she has this beautiful trip and she realizes that she's counting every penny. She's stressed about like, what's it going to cost? She almost didn't do the trip because she thought, well, I can't afford this. Like she's got these patterns showing up. And it's not that we have to go to Europe to like live abundantly, but the point was sometimes we got to go out of our comfort zone and try something different to wake up the synapses in our brains to see that maybe there's another way to do this thing called life. And that's exactly what she's doing.
Beautiful. And the thing is about it is, this obviously this show's not about me, it's about you. But for me, by doing this podcast, I have talked to so many people that I never would have had the fortunate distinction to do so. Right. And I call it zip coded. You can get zip coded in life, right? Where you pass the same store, the same gas station, and you have like this nice little 5-mile radius that everything suddenly becomes very small in your life. And that's all you do. And you can predict when the light changes, it becomes predictable, right? And so then you start to have a realization where you have to shake it up a little bit, right? You almost have to be willing to look stupid. And so then things start transpiring in positive manners for you. Even when you fall flat on your face, even when you're tired. So what stage that happens to people in life, it happens. But I think that book is directly parallel to a lot of people who on paper, they see the house, the car, the dogs, the vacation time. And then the person's just like, I'm feeling kind of empty inside a little bit, so to speak.
One of the things that has changed my life over and over and over again for the better are these spontaneous synchronicities of meeting people in very strange places.
Right.
And my family has a thing where they're like, how do you meet these people? I'm like, I do not know. They just appear. And so when Mirabelle's coming back from Paris, she meets this guy, Lawrence, who is like a very successful entrepreneur, and he's had cancer and he's gone through this like evolution of spirit. And she's like sitting at the feet of this guy at the airport, telling her what he had seen and what he had learned and inspiring her.
Right.
And so I wanted to bring that in because I've had so many of those. Like, have you had those kind of things? Maybe even on this show.
You talking about people who just had that moment of clarity, so to speak? Oh yeah. Like, whether.
Well, you meeting people that like cause you to see things differently.
So, I mean, listen, I'll just call a spade. Like, I literally have met people, on here that I'm like, I wish I had known you my entire life, right? Because my mindset would have been, because having a winning mindset and not having, the wormhole of complaining or just always seeing the positive of how you can get through things. Because if you talk to enough people, you will find that there's a tragedy behind a lot in their lives, but it's how you manage it. It's how you plow through it. You don't know who has cancer. You don't know who had various ailments or whatever took place, but it's always about the next stage of evolution of them, right? To parable that, it's like Apple, right? Like Apple went from floppy disks to iPhones to iPad. They kept evolving, right? So the key about a person is you have to keep evolving. You should not be the same person you were 20 years ago. You shouldn't be, right? Resonate really well. Your temperament should be different. The way you see things should be different. Your perspective should change a little bit because unfortunately, at some point, it will rear its head towards you. So just to ask you a quick question, again, I don't want to overtalk you. What's it like when you onboard a client, an entrepreneur in your company to be a client?
Before I even work with somebody, there's several conversations that take place because I don't think I operate the way that a lot of other coaches do. And I need to make sure that we're on the same page. And what I mean by that, and I just recently met with someone, so it's fresh in my mind, but what we talked about was a lot of times people are very prescriptive in coaching, like you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this. And while that works for some things, maybe very practical financial matters, a lot of the evolution of a person's business and their wealth building journey is very unique to them. Right. And when you take the uniqueness out of the process, it takes all the joy, it takes all the passion, it takes all the excitement. And so what I'm looking to do is make sure that the person and that unique aspect of them, back to like becoming especially noticeable, doesn't get drowned out in the process of building a business.
Right.
Like, how do we keep you and your uniqueness as the center of the stage?
Right.
And then all of the other stuff is just tools to support the journey.
Correct.
And I find that people get really tripped up because there's so much to learn, especially in these technology-oriented businesses that many of us have.
Right.
It's totally overwhelming.
Absolutely.
So that's what it looks like. I'm getting to know the person, make sure that they want that kind of person to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, then more often than not, it's a great fit. And we go about the journey now of like, I'm looking for the gaps. What do they know?
Saw that gap analysis.
And what do they not know yet? How do we make sure that we fill in the gaps? Because there are some really important things when we're building a business and we're building a brand and we're building wealth through our brand that I've learned we all need to incorporate into what we're doing.
I think that one of the problems is people have information overload nowadays, right? So now you have a situation where every time you go to YouTube, every time you go to Instagram, every time, and I'm not knocking social media. I mean, it's there. I utilize it. So I'm not going to, but everybody's an expert now, right? Everybody's like, you got some 22-year-old kid, and I'm not saying there's not, like that, driving the fancy car, and you're like, oh, all you have to do is blah, 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 blah. And then they don't really give you anything when you look them up, just out of your own personal curiosity. There's no meat on the bone, so to speak, and they've never really accomplished anything, but it's easy to get sensationalized by a quick 30-second image or infomercial. So separating the real from the fake, in this era is very difficult, right? And then it becomes the imposter syndrome, where people immediately see something on the internet and they have to emulate it, irrespective of the actual work that needs to be put in to do something, right? And so it's interesting of the things that you talk about. And what I find fascinating about you is you've done this for years and you've helped thousands of people. And because you're successful on your own, you could sit back and just keep it all to yourself. But you said on your website, I want to help 1 million people. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
It's actually like 10 million
10
now, because I realized because I realized between my podcast and all the things I've done and my YouTube channel, I've already touched the lives of way more than 1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And one day when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to up the number. How cool is that?
Unbelievable. I mean, who does that, right? And so, but again, it's kind of similar to the phases of, I wanted this in my career, I got this in my career, now it's the next stage of evolution for you. One of the things I was fascinated about was you do personal empowerment for businesses and entrepreneurs as well, too. And you do retreats as well, too. So what about the retreats and how do those go?
Retreats are one of my favorite things to do, first of all, because let's face it, we don't spend enough quality time with other humans in like going to camp when we were kids, shut it all down, turn it all off. Come on.
No cell phone.
Get to know people. No cell phone. Get to know people at the deepest level you could possibly imagine in 2, 3, 4 days. Or maybe sometimes we went to Hawaii last year and that was a week. So
beautiful.
I love what happens to human beings when they step away. And in many cases, they don't know other people and they show up and they're just like, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to know the person from this place of their heart leading the way.
Right.
And magic happens at retreats because we don't have the distractions. I'm an incredible facilitator with people and understanding them at a very deep level by asking good questions, making sure that anyone who comes to a retreat that I host is going to feel like they're held and they're safe to be themselves and they're able to do work about growth that they might not have done anywhere else. And so I always think that it has a lot to do with me being able to see each person as their own unique individual and also build the experience of each other. Everyone's working together for our own personal development.
And I would imagine that, you give them tools to open up because, traditionally, kids are different, right? Kids will just automatically just go over and snatch a crayon from a kid. And then next, magic happens. Right? Adults can be very stoic because they're kind of like, I don't want to look like opening up to another adult or, trying to start a conversation. It's not because you don't, it's weird. The ego kicks in and you're like, I don't want to come up and be friendly because, we're traditionally so standoffish. And there's studies that have been shown that the more social media and electronics that have taken place, the less likely people are to actually have full-fledged conversations. That's obviously a different topic for a different day. So where are the retreats located? I know you're in Arizona, but is it in Arizona or where are those located at?
Yeah, I've done them in Sedona. I've done them in Lake Tahoe and Sedona, Arizona. It's a very good place for retreats. There's a lot of beautiful red rocks and all kinds of fun spiritual places that we can visit. Also in Kona, Hawaii.
Wow.
I've done them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And you're right. It is all about the tools because at the end of the day, the exercises that we do together allow people to become more of their true selves, understand and move through the things that they've been stuck on. And by the end of the retreat, they're going home with a map of like, this is what I'm ready to own and take and take to the next level in my life.
Okay. And I wanted to talk too about the 8 steps that you mentioned. So like when you're coaching, what are the 8 steps that as far as in detail that you've come up with and more importantly have worked very effectively?
So yeah, I don't know why I always end up at 8 steps, but they're different. In both books, there's 8 steps. So I'm going to just more at a high level, like in the Money Catalyst, there's a process that we go through, and it's this evolution of going from one state of reality to a completely different state of reality. And I found that we naturally go through these 8 steps. They might look a little different, but what the Money Catalyst is doing is it's taking us through awakening to the idea that there is greater possibility in your life than you understand in this moment. Just awakening to your
absolute
possibility.
Correct.
Right? The next step is about looking within to understand what's important to you, what might be holding you back, what traumas of the past have affected who you are today, and how can you move through them, beyond them, heal them, forgive them, whatever. Then when we are talking about, my journey is a lot about going from scarcity to abundance. And I feel like I tie everything into money ultimately. And so this third step, I call it in the book, unearthing the abundant world. Rashad, this is the part where I feel like we live in a world that's more scarcity oriented, which I talk about in the book. It's not about abundance. It's not about seeing the abundant world that we live in. Now, this isn't sugarcoating things. This isn't ignoring things. I don't ever prescribe to that. But what I want to encourage people to realize is that the world does have great opportunity for us.
Unquestionably.
And if we can unearth that perspective, it changes the way we go about starting a business. And I know we could take your business through the steps, but then the next step, the fourth step, Catalyst 4, is nurturing your inner wealth. So first you see it out in the world. Look at all that beauty. Look at all that opportunity. Yeah. But then we bring it home into ourselves. Like, what is the wealth within me?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Right.
How can I tap into that more?
Right.
Catalyst 5 is defining your own abundance, defining what it is that you want in life. Like, we don't spend enough time really thinking about this. And you and I both know that in order to be where we are today, we had to think long and hard about what would that next step look like. We don't have to necessarily see all the way out, but we got to have a plan.
You do. You really, truly do. It's like weight loss. Like, if you think you're going to lose it, don't have a 1-month plan because you're going to fail, right? You're going to fail. Mm-hmm. You better understand that it could take a year to actually get what you want. And then don't compare yourself to people on the Men's Fitness cover, right? Like, set your own personal, what's going to work for me specifically. Tailor make it.
Totally. Figure it out, because not everybody, like, don't do life according to what other people are telling you is going to be good. Do life according to what's going to make you feel good and what's going to light your light bulb and what's going to get you excited. So that's what defining your own abundance is about. Catalyst 6, this is when finances come in. This is amplifying your finances. This is doing a real good comprehensive review of like, where am I? What's working? What's not working? What do I want less of? Debt, perhaps. What do I want more of? Income, perhaps, like, or savings or investing. So it's about going through that process. Then we move into the last 2 steps. Catalyst 7 is about navigating decisions. You and I both know, like, choice. What choices are you making? What decisions are you making? Yep. Let's navigate those. I give people a process to apply. And then the final step is taking action, taking inspired action. Let's go and do this.
And I would honestly say that taking action, is probably one of the most difficult things, and I mean, first of all, I could pick your brain for probably, a month and still would only scratch the surface of what you've applied, right? Because I keep saying myself, and I'm like, how often do I procrastinate? How often did I not, the old adage of somebody better get to that, and it's really you. So like, it definitely is the kick in the butt, so to speak. I want to be very respectful of your time and your schedule. Where can people find Leisa Peterson, her book, the Catalyst Coach, all the information's about you? Obviously, I know where to find you. For people who are listening to this show, where can they locate you?
Okay. So the Money Catalyst book, you can go to moneycatalyst.book.com. You can see where it's available. You can get access to all kinds of free goodies and worksheets and journals and great stuff. In fact, we'll give everybody a secret passageway. If you go to moneycatalyst.book.com and you enter your first name, you enter your email address, and you enter 01, you can get all the freebies that normally come when you buy the book.
Beautiful.
You can get them now, and then you could figure out if that is a good fit and you want to pick up an e-copy or a hard copy of the book.
Really cool.
The other part is write to me, like lpeterson at WealthClinic. I am happy to talk to anyone. Like, I am here to be of service. And I'm actually going to I just feel compelled. Like, you have heard what this conversation has been about. This is all about taking action. It's about putting yourself out there.
Right.
And I honestly offer my email. I don't do that because I'm trying to sell you something. Like, I'm inviting you to take this conversation to heart.
Right.
Send me an email. Tell me what you learned. Tell me what's on your mind, because I'm more than happy to give you an intuitive response back and be of service to you. And that, like, take advantage of that. It's free.
Well, that's the crazy part, right? And so, I think sometimes people they always look for what's the hidden agenda, so to speak, and then they realize there's not. And, in my brief conversation with you, you could be doing, multiple other things with time rather than offering your services to help people. So thank you very much. And that's a testament to your character. So I'm very appreciative. And again, obviously Leisa Peterson, the Money Catalyst, is now out, available for Amazon and all, retailers, and I am very grateful for your time on the Tron podcast. And I would love to have a second chapter of more of what you do, how to help people in entrepreneurship, business growth, and success.
Bring it.
Thank you so much. I'm very appreciative of your time. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Bye.